Okay, so thank you for joining our online class tonight. We're finally here, episode 4 of 5. My name is Fiona O'Connor, and I am Senior Service Specialist in Digital Literacy Initiatives with the Toronto Public Library. And before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that the Toronto Public Library is situated on Indigenous land and dish with one spoon territory. This is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Toronto Public Library gratefully acknowledges these Indigenous nations for the guardianship of this land. And as I mentioned, it is so good to be here. I even have somebody in the chat who's like, "Yay, we finally got things sort of ironed out. We do have a backup plan in case things go south, but I should have even said that. I should knock on wood. I'm knocking on my head right now. But tonight's program is examining how AI development is moving towards the creation of separate species beyond human comprehension. So this series, as you probably, for those who have been taking all of the programs that we've been offering, is going to make you ponder about everything from how you live, work, and play, all while discovering how AI is literally changing everything, and that it is. So tonight's program is hosted by Keith McDonald, founder and chief curator of Toronto's Literacy AI project. And this series is intended for those who are curious about AI, but have not the time to investigate the nuances and developments that are taking place every day. So before we begin, I just want to go over some helpful tips and guidelines. So I'm turning on WebEx Assistant right now. So if you would like to view the captioning button is at the bottom left of the screen. We do have a chat section, and I know I think everybody has this sort of figured out at this point. It looks like a chat bubble, and it's at the bottom right of the screen. You'll see that there's 3 dots to the side of that chat bubble, and one of them is Q&A. You can enter your questions in that section if you'd like, or if you're comfortable with chat, you can use that as well. We'll be devoting the last 10 minutes or so to your questions. And what else? If you are accidentally disconnected from the program, just click on the link that you used to get into tonight's program, and you'll be right back in again. It is recorded, and I will be sending the recording out to everybody tomorrow. And I think that is it. I'll insert a link to a survey as well in the chat. And I'll explain more about the survey at the end. And Keith, I'm going to now hand it over to you. It's very good to have you here. We can hear you, we can see you, and that makes us all very happy. Thank you, Keith.
Me too. Thank you, Fiona, and welcome. It's nice to be here. It's nice to be anywhere, as I like to say, but it's nice to be here in particular. And I just want to point out again, like I've done now in the last couple of shows, we've got the YouTube channel. The 3 episodes so far are up there, getting some good views, getting some likes even, and some subscribers. That's all good. So please have a look at that if you want some more background, if you've missed the show. And tonight, we got some interesting things happening. Normally we go into the future, but tonight, and we have a visit with Betty. But tonight, because it's around art, I thought I would change it up a little bit. Betty will be on the YouTube video as a bonus clip, so we'll still have a quick meet with her. But tonight, I wanted to explore art more directly and more intimately and more subjective. Because I am a singer-songwriter, and I write music, and I've published music, etc., etc., and the encroachment of AI, shall we say, is very personal to me. I'm not exactly a fan, so I'm going to discuss things from a very subjective viewpoint tonight. And to start things off, in lieu of the Betty visit, I thought it might be interesting to do a takeoff song. So I put this together. It's based on a group that you probably never heard of, the Beatles. And I'm sure you recognize the tune, but the words have been changed to protect the guilty, and it's all around AI. So let's give that a listen, and I'll see you after the song. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Mm-hmm. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Mm-hmm. I once had an AI, or should I say, it once had me. It showed me its code. Isn't it sad when an AI goes bad? Full body scanned me with its finger as a laser device. As I looked around, I noticed my face had been spliced. It was up on the monitor for all to see. I stood by its side, watching it make no obvious mistakes. It worked until one, that's when it said was just about done. Na 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 na. Told me it reboots in the morning and it started to nap. I told it I didn't and I crawled up to sleep on its lap. And when I awoke, I wasn't alone. The AI had cloned. So I said, malware, isn't it sad? Okay, so there we go, when AI goes bad. And it's coming. If AI is good, that's one thing. When it's bad, it's not good. Let's take a look at the narrative tonight. All right. But is it art? Art is not easy to define, is it? Often, it's in the eyes and ears of the beholder. Carlos Santana once said, music changes molecules. Now, I can feel it, bro. One thing that human-created art has is soul. Would you agree? There is some je ne sais quoi that disappears when you view or hear an AI-created product. It has a place in the art spectrum for sure, but IMHO. It isn't as beautiful, or dare I say it, human. Strongly believe that. Tonight's word, by the way, is what? Let's hit the button.
Froward.
Froward, of a person, difficult to deal with, contrary. And I really do feel this is the industry, the business side of the industry in particular. And I think you ask any artist, be they a painter, poet, musician, that aspect of business when it comes to art is very, very froward, simply because the money that can be made is enormous. And the justice, though, to the creator of the art is not always there. So, yeah, if you know some artists, talk to them about this very thing and think if they're happy with how arrangements are. It's no secret why the writers and the artists were on strike in the States when it comes to acting in movies and the use of AI and so on. So, froward it is, and forward we go. Speaking of actors, I'm going to start off with a speech that Bryan Cranston gave to his brothers and sisters in the Union on the picket line, and note his passion. Here we go.
I know, sir, that you look through things through a different lens. We don't expect you to understand who we are, but we ask you to hear us, and beyond that, to listen to us. Woo! when we tell you we will not be having our jobs taken away and giving to robots. We will not have you take away our right to work and earn a decent living. And lastly, and most importantly, we will not allow you to take away our dignity. We are union through and through, all the way to the end. Thank you. God bless you. Stay together. We will win this fight. God bless you.
I'll tell you, Bryan can certainly enunciate, can't he? Very passionate, though. And let's face it, if we're going to use our agency that I've talked about in a number of episodes, this is a perfect example of that. Sometimes we are going to have to assert a position, even if it means a little bit of pain. And all of those artists, the actors, lost a lot of money, and the bulk of them aren't well paid in the first place, right? Very few are like on the Bryan Cranston level. Okay, moving on. We'll return back to the agreement shortly. I wanted to go back to the song because when I debuted this for my colleague on the project, Francisca Fortes, she said, you know, I get what you're trying to do, but there isn't really a lot of technical references in it. So why don't we try ChatGPT and see what it might come up with? So I reluctantly agreed. Let's give it a try. And so we asked to rewrite the song Norwegian Wood to reflect AI instead of a girl. And so being very nice to us, certainly. Here's a rewritten version of Norwegian Wood by the Beatles with the focus shifted to an AI instead of a girl. So let me just read this to you. Hopefully a little bit Shakespearean-like as a poem, because it didn't really follow the tune that much. But here's what it came out with. I once had an AI, or should I say, it had me. It used to browse the web and analyze with glee. We chatted about data and ones and then zeros. In the world of algorithms where everything flows, we talked about code and digital dreams. In the realm of AI with infinite themes, it made predictions and learned from the past. In the world of technology, it was unsurpassed. And when the night came, it stayed up with me, processing data so tirelessly. In the glow of the screen, we conversed till the dawn. My trusty AI, a friend never gone. But one day, it vanished without a goodbye, leaving me with memories of a digital sky. My AI, now a memory in the digital wood, a machine with emotions that understood. In the world of circuits and wires, it once stood. My Norwegian Wood, an AI that was good. Alas. So, it's poetry. If we'd wanted to go further, we would have had to clarify our command a bit to stay to the melody of Norwegian Wood. Also, make it an adversary relationship as opposed to kind of a respectful or love relationship even. And I'm sure it would have gone further and so on. But to me, I didn't want to go any further. I got the idea, you know, digital dreams, code, and all that kind of stuff. So it triggered some of those words in my mind. But whether it could do a better job or a worse job is irrelevant to me. I wanted to do it, right? I didn't want that to do it for me, because where's the satisfaction in that? For me, it's nowhere. But a lot of people are turning to it for one reason or another. They don't have time. They don't have the creativity. They don't get the rush from creating it themselves or whatever. But it's on its way to be a tool that lots and lots of people are using it. They're using it for rhyming, which is acceptable, certainly. What rhymes with station? What rhymes with orange? Be good to ask ChatGPT and see what it comes out with. But a lot of people in the music biz feel the same way. Sheryl Crow, who I respect very much, in fact, she was one of the reasons I started playing music very late, mind you, but I loved her acoustic guitar. I loved her writing style. And so I decided, yeah, I want to do that. So this is what she had to say recently. She recalled a meeting with a female songwriter who needed a male voice to sing on a track. She doesn't say who this songwriter was. Instead of finding someone to work with, she put it through an AI feature that mimicked John Mayer's voice. And there's no way you could tell the difference, and it just blew my mind, she says. And it didn't just sound like him, I mean like his inflections, she said. For me, art is like soul. It's attached to the soul. So when you get something that's so much more advanced than our brains are at this point, it takes the soul out of it, you know? And it's scary. I agree. Crow isn't the only one worried about AI. Recording Academy Chief Harvey Mason Jr. recently clarified that music made with AI voice modeling won't be considered for Grammy Awards. Yay, Harvey! But what happens when you leave? I'm willing, and this is something you can bet on this. I will give you your bet and double times it back if this doesn't come to fruition. And that is that the Academy, this is Grammys and so on, will have a category for AI. Best AI creation, best AI replicant voice, a number of different categories, but it's bound to happen because it's in motion. And a lot of people feel it is art. So wait for it. It's coming. And we're also thinking in terms of thought, right? There's a push on for people that don't play an instrument to be able to create a song just by thinking it. And this is an app that actually isn't new. It goes back about 7 years, maybe a little less than that. It's called HumTap, and you simply take your phone and you hum into it. And it will create something out of that using instruments. This is what it sounds like. It's not that sophisticated. I didn't think it was that great. I didn't like the instrumentation much. So the percussion it uses is obviously artificial. There isn't a real drummer there. Nonetheless, the beginnings of thought, humming your song to create a song. Now let's fast forward to today. This is a new app. It's called Ava, and I'll play it in the background here while I talk. Very sophisticated. And if I didn't tell you, I could say, like I didn't tell you I was using the app, I could say, hey, I wrote this score for a play that I'm writing. Picture yourself sitting in the auditorium and in the pit is the orchestra, ready for the curtains to open and out come the actors and so on. And that's my music. If you didn't know any better, you'd say, oh, dude, you're okay. You're pretty good. That's good. Notice the dynamic in this, and the instrumentation evolves. It gets more intense, if you like. It's pretty good. Gotta say, it's pretty good. Now, I can't afford an orchestra. I don't score music either, so I can't afford someone who could give me a score to whatever tune that I might have come out with. So from that sense, this is an affordable tool. It's a British product. It's around £33 a month if you commit to a yearly plan. And that gives you free copyright on this. So I could do whatever I want with it. I could give myself credit, etc., etc. Yeah, there's the big dynamics. The interesting thing is they originally brought in musicians who played all these instruments, recorded those instruments, and brought them into loops and various other things that you can access in this program. So they did pay those original musicians once, but they don't get anything else out of this. So there's no residuals or anything else. It all goes to the company. And if this is widely used, obviously they're going to make a lot of money. And therein lies the conundrum. So for me, it's tempting, right? Because I can't pay for the full works, the full human being side of this. But I can certainly pay for this. Pretty cool. So reluctantly, would I use it? I may. Now, there's other things that are happening too. This is a gentleman who is creating music with his dance, basically. Yamaha Corporation is invested in supporting this guy. So he's wired up, kind of like having an EEG or a sleep study. And his movements trigger notes on the piano. Now, he's using real musicians as well in his art. So this is kind of interesting. This is art, right? Yeah. Thank you, Yamaha, for supporting it. But, this is also art. I can't resist not showing you this. Yes, indeed. The cat sounds better than the Ava score, right? So, yeah, it's a conundrum. And when we look into the future aspect, I found an article here. This is up on our prep kit. And it's talking about Canadian music. And I thought it was important that we talk about Canada since we're coming to you live from Canada. And I'm down here, by the way. You see me? And so let's just take a quick look at a couple items in this. I encourage you to read it from the website. And we're going to take a look at just a couple of items, talking about artificial intelligence and will it be an instrument, which is really where we just left off, right? The idea of it producing exact reproductions of certain speakers, like Sheryl Crow's mentioning John Mayer. This article is mentioning Drake, The Weeknd, back together virtually, and so on. And the idea of mashing these things up, all using AI tools, is out there and happening. The article is postulating that that will be the thing that happens in the future. It will be, in other words, the thing that we're listening to. This I thought was interesting. It's something called ASMR. And I'm not sure everyone will know what that is. Of course not. Why would you? Unless you're listening to it. ASMR stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. It's a term used to describe a tingling, static-like or goosebump sensation in response to specific triggering audio or visual stimuli. Now, what's interesting about that is it could be almost anything. It could be the sound of nature, like a pond or waves, or even more extreme sounds, like somebody tearing up the road. It's almost anything that generates a feeling inside. And a lot of people use these kind of things in going to bed and stuff. It could be just a person saying the same word over and over, like love, 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 love. I don't necessarily like it myself, but the predictions are that this is going to really take off. What I like about the concept, though, is the idea of found art. And I'll talk a bit about that in a second. I want to move into full-on AI reproductions now. This isn't just the voice. This is actual, the body, the instruments, everything. And Mick Jagger recently was quoted, I'll do my best, Mick Jagger, as saying that the Stones will tour even after they're dead. Kiss, by the way, I didn't add this article to the slide deck, but Kiss basically just finished their last of their final tours, and they've pretty well alluded to the fact that they will go on forever in the same fashion. They're going to have a show that's ready to go with holographic. Okay. I'm not sure that, in fact, a lot of the response from fans were, don't do it, this is ridiculous, it won't be the same thing. But if we project ourselves 100 years in the future, people may not even have that feeling anymore because they're seeing, wow, the original Kiss on holographs. Yeah. This is what I want to talk about with Found. This is a lady who had some major health problems. And she was in the hospital for a long time. Her name is Yoko Sen. And she called it the soundtrack of her life. And it wasn't pleasant, right? There were bing, bangs, and beeps, and code blue sounds, and a number of different things going on. And she started to recognize that some of them actually were notes, like a C note or an F sharp. So she decided to put together something based on those kinds of things, but in a less desperate or awful way. So that, to me, is what I call found music. And think about it yourself. You might hear somebody say something that's really cool. And if you're an artist, the tendency would be to write that down and use it somewhere. It could be a statement. It could be a title for a song. Someone who paints could be visiting a place and sees something and they have to take a picture of it because they're going to want to paint it. A poet might get a feeling about something or someone and decide, I have to write about that right now. They call that when the mood strikes, when the muse strikes. That's what I call found art. Question for you, will AI find art? Will it see something? Will it hear something? Will it recognize a little scrap of a request and say, hey, that could be art? Will it tell us? Or will it just be lost? I think found art is one of the most important things to an artist. It's that thing that you don't know where it comes from even, but it's something that triggers something in you and off you go. Here's some logistics, I guess, around the industry. CD Baby is a distribution company. I use CD Baby. It's remarkably reasonable to purchase. They will handle the distribution for you. They send it up to all the places so it can be found. And they send out regular newsletters and so on and keeps you in touch. And their plans on this one is obviously that they're working for us today. They're going to stay with it. They're proud of where we came from and excited about where we're going. This is nice that they're on top of it, but I would ask, what are you doing precisely about the risks to AI? We're not part of a union here. And what's going to happen in the future? Are we going to be clobbered by AI music? Speaking of which, Spotify, one of the biggest players in the biz, is changing their royalties program. Now, you must understand that the royalties are very, very slim to begin with. How many we got? looking at us tonight. I see 7 as the number. So for me to treat all 7 of you, and if we add Fiona and myself to a coffee, that's 9 people. I'm going to have over 1 million listens or downloads. The price has changed a little bit. But what they pay out, Spotify in particular, is like 0.000000008 cents per listen. So at that rate, yeah, it's going to take a long time, even to buy myself a coffee. But what they're planning to do is even change the formula so it's even harder. I'll let this gentleman explain.
Well, it's official. Starting in 2024, an artist track must garner 1,000 streams per year before Spotify will pay out royalties. I dropped that into the fancy royalty calculator over at Billboard.com, and that's about $4.80 in streams that they won't get. It's been stated that the 1,000 track payout would be below most distributors' pay thresholds anyway, so it's really the distributors that have been holding out money on artists. To me, that argument doesn't hold. It's nonsense, because it's common for emerging artists to have 20, 30, or 40 tracks under 1,000 annual streams. Individually, that would not meet the payout threshold from their distributor, but collectively, through their whole catalog, that absolutely would. And distributors pay out by user account and not at the track level. This is all still developing as the industry tries to solve this payout problem. I'm sure more developments will happen in the near future, but what are your thoughts at where we're at today?
Good question. I'll give you my thoughts. $4.80, you're gonna hold out. The reason that they're saying is that because a lot of the tracks being uploaded are essentially nothing. But speak about found poetry and ASMR. Yeah, they're just noise, and it's cluttering up their system, so they say. But I talk about, nickel and dimed, really. And I don't know if you noticed the Apple formula was a bit higher. It was $8.80. So Apple is a little kinder than Spotify. But it's still, wow. So you can imagine. And like artists that are well known, like Taylor Swift, U2, and, Drake and all of them, don't quite have this issue because they are getting bazillions of songs. And usually at this time of year, by the way, Spotify sends out a thing that says your year, and it lists all the streams that you got and how many hours people listen to and stuff. And I find it kind of stupid when, the Rolling Stones and so on puts up their listeners and stuff, because it's in the millions. And yeah. Like we would expect that, right? The difficulty is for the unknown or the new and upcoming person. And this is the risk we face with the future of music anyway, because bands, any band you want to name that has a great track record and a fantastic history, I don't think we're going to find those very often because they don't get the support that they used to do. And they don't get the allowance to grow. So the first album usually doesn't do that well for an artist. Second, maybe a little better, and so on. It takes a while to build up an audience. What we're losing through AI is this opportunity to grow. And again, I think it comes down to the human side, the soul side of it. So that's some facts that I hope you find startling, right? When you look at it this way. It's why so many artists, if you go see them in concert, will be selling their CDs at the swag table. And they may even say, buy my CD, please. And the reason is they make more money off of that. And they do have to make a living because it is a living if you want it to be a living. Yeah, so there you go. Some facts and figures. YouTube is big for music as well, but not just music. If you look at number 1 here on the points, in 2023, that's so far this year, videos for AI tools got over 1.7 billion YouTube views. That's a lot of people looking into AI. How does it work? How can I use it? Instructions on how to use it, etc. YouTube announced a strategy to address AI's impact on the music industry and partnered with UMC. Anybody know what that is? It's Universal Music Company, to create an AI framework. Now, this is an example of bias. And the bias is essentially, it's just the one company, right? It's not others working with it. It's not Spotify. It's not CD Baby. It's not working together with this. And I think that's an issue. And it is bias. If we're only getting one viewpoint, it's not good enough. The program promotes protections and opportunities for music partners who use AI to create music. Great, but what about those who don't use AI? It's got to be combined. Plans to invest in AI for community safety to detect content issues, which should be things like fakes. Also very good. So there's a lot of things going on. but it doesn't necessarily all encompass the issues and even the ethics. So we have to do more, folks, YouTube included. The following is a public service announcement brought to you by the Literacy AI Project. Yes, thanks for watching that. I use that because I think it's interesting because it demonstrates again that we're not often aware of what we're capable of. So if you even haven't always wanted to do something in music, learn piano, sing, dance, write, I suggest you try. If you haven't tried yet, try. You never know. You might find that you've got a real ability here. And for your kids, if they're opening their mouths and coming out with notes and things like that, wow, they could actually do some tremendous things. So we're not really sure until we try what we're capable of. So I feel in order to protect our art, but also celebrate our art and have fun while we're doing it, because there's so much satisfaction that can come from everything from dancing to comedy to making films, etc. So give it a try. Kurt, I think it's Kirk. Is it Kirk Douglas or Kurt Douglas? I guess it's Kirk Douglas. Started writing it, I think he was 89 years old, or he was very late in life, and he ended up with some bestsellers. So it's never too late. So give it a try. I had to use this graphic. I used it in the last show because it was a found graphic. I had a screen capture. I don't know why I shot it, but anyway, I thought it was interesting. That is my state of mind, for sure. Now, I mentioned Photoshop and use of Photoshop, right? Here's a perfect example of how it's being replaced.
Asked AI art to make a photo of me in the 70s.
AI Arta, the artist in your pocket. Okay, so there goes the Photoshop need, right? Also painting, speaking of art, this is AI painting. Reminds me of paint by numbers. The thing is, this AI will recreate this painting over and over and over again. It will always look the same. But the industry of AI-generated material is moving. This is the first AI-generated portrait ever sold, and it fetched $432,500, 43 times its estimate at auction. There's the finished painting. Gonna put that on your wall? I'm being a bit harsh because if you do look, and I decided deliberately not to show much AI art because I felt, let AI art show itself to you. That's how biased I am. And it's back to, again, what is it we expect? This is something I've used in previous workshops. It's available in the prep kit as well. Unfortunately, the Talk to Einstein actual program doesn't exist anymore, but the history behind it exists on some links there. And you can also talk to Sophie, who's the replacement for it. But this was cool because you could talk to Einstein. And I think this has a place in art and in history. And the thing is, you could recreate Einstein, you could have his voice, you could ask him questions, or he could explain things. Interesting use for teaching as well.
And
This is a quick
by world leaders in technology to give people around our world access to digital experiences which can educate, entertain, and be a friendly face to speak to every day.
So I tried this out, and you can have a dialogue with them, and it wasn't very sophisticated in the early days. And this, I don't know how I came to ask for the answer that came out this way, but this didn't take a lot of manipulation. It just happened to come out in our conversation. Do you have any last final words to say to the class?
The definition of the word a poop is slang for feces.
So in its extreme example, you could put profanity, you could put all kinds of racist commentary into the look-alike, right? This is where fakes are coming into play, and it's something to watch for, not just in our elections, but certainly we're going to see a lot of stuff going on in the wild, wild west of the American election. That's scary, and that's where I think we need to look at some legislation here to have watermarks and things like that that definitely show this isn't the real person. But there's a movement on even in terms of something as simple as your news.
Hello, everyone. I'm an English artificial intelligence anchor. This is my very first day in Xinhua News Agency. My voice and appearance are modeled on Zhang Zhao, a real anchor with Xinhua. The development of the media industry calls for continuous innovation and deep integration with the international advanced technologies. I will work tirelessly to keep you informed as texts will be typed into my system, uninterrupted.
I look forward to bringing you the brand new experiences. I'm going to stop it there just because I don't find this innovative. Basically, what they're getting rid of the anchor, who probably makes a lot of money, and people paid a lot less are typing in what this anchor says.
I look forward to bringing you the brand new news experiences.
Brand new news. Okay, so there's that, and that's going to start happening. And this is starting to happen a lot. You'll see this all over the place where this isn't Acknowledge AI, you see on the top there. It's a different company that's created these, but Acknowledge AI is posting. And AI was asked to generate Harry Potter, but in Italy. So this is an example.
Sei un mafioso, Harry.
I think the thing that's wrong with it as a trailer, it's just basically showing everybody that was in the films basically dressed up as characters in Italy. This is more interesting. That doesn't look real though, does it? Do you think it's real? Harry certainly does not look real. Again, they're just showing different characters, right?
Le conseguenze delle nostre azioni sono sempre così complicate, così diverse, che prevedere il futuro è davvero un'impresa molto difficile.
Presto scoprirai che alcune famiglie sono molto migliori di altre, Potter.
Non esiste il bene e il male, esiste solo il potere e coloro che sono troppo deboli per cercarlo.
Avada vendetta.
Okay, so it's like a I don't know, it's like a bake at home pizza. It's not as good as the real thing. Is it going to get better? That's the problem. So do we want to lose, again, the personal side of it, or do we want to see AI-generated scenarios and full films based on studios' desire to sequel? And we already see so many sequels, don't we? But they're thinking, hey, we can go ahead and not use the original actors. Speaking of which, let's look at some of the agreement that the writers union won. And again, a hard-fought battle. The agreement is the WGA, Writers Guild of America, and the MBA, which is the Memorandum of Agreement. No, that's the MOA. I'm not sure what MBA stands for. Lots of stuff in it, and I'm going to focus on artificial intelligence. So this is right from the documents. We have established regulations for the use of artificial intelligence, AI, on MBA-covered projects in the following ways. AI can't write or rewrite literary material, and AI-generated material will not be considered source material under the MBA, meaning that AI-generated material can't be used to undermine a writer's credit or separated rights. Can't. Those are good words here. A writer can choose to use AI when performing writing services if the company consents and provided that the writer follows applicable company policies. But the company can't require the writer to use AI software, ChatGPT, when performing writing services. The company must disclose to the writer if any materials given to the writer have been generated by AI or incorporate AI-generated material. The WGA reserves the right to assert that exploitation of writer's material to train AI is prohibited by MBA or other law. I like that a lot. I think the risk here, though, is what's the applicable company policy? And who knows, maybe the company policy has some loopholes in there. But nonetheless, that's somewhat solid, wouldn't you say, that the writer is going to be able to write and get paid to write. But the future, of course, has to do with that blurry middle, or perhaps even more extreme. This clip talks about this. In the future, AI and human inventors could compete for patents. Same for copyright. As we said, AI does write articles. It says here, bad poetry, Norwegian Wood. AI video manipulation is advancing so quickly. This is where fakes come into play as well. Yeah, so the question here, with everything moving so fast and capability moving so fast, what do we do if AI actually creates something on its own? In this case, a new invention. Who owns it? The human? Or would it be the AI? Should robot inventions be patented in the first place? Current law, copyright has been tested in the States. AI is not legally allowed to own the copyright. Will this change if it's truly autonomous? Will the AI say to the judge, I don't accept that? This whole court is out of order. To quote Al Pacino from years ago in the movie, what was it? Injustice for All. Good questions. I think the AI should hold the copyright. That's my feeling. If it's done it itself, it's got to own the copyright. The world's first robot citizen is named Sophie. I haven't talked about Sophie in any of my workshops because it's a bit of a misty thing here as to whether or not she's promoted as independent and close to being sentient. But she wants to have a family. She is the first citizen in robot in Saudi Arabia. She does have a driver's license. She'd name her daughter after her, which is interesting. But she wants to spend her time helping humans and robots. Cool. That's good. Humans and robots can achieve so much. Yes. Yes. It'd be good partnership where one brain completes the other. I agree. A rational mind with intellectual superpowers. Okay, the AI. And the creative mind. Perfect. Now, she has a large vocabulary. Again, this is all from machine learning. She's not pre-programmed. That's where it gets dicey. She uses AI and machine learning to come up with her answers. She can interpret human facial expressions, but again, it's all programming. It's not independent. They're saying she could develop consciousness, so that's truthful at least. But she's out there, and she's, like I say, first robot citizen of Saudi Arabia. So, you know, it brings us back to the proverbial rabbit hole, doesn't it? I mean, I feel it. I feel it more in this area than a lot of other areas. And it just bothers me as a creator that, you know, it's already hard enough to make a dent. And if AI comes in and clobbers everybody, it'll just be near impossible. And most artists, I believe, will finally just give up. So I'm going to dive into that rabbit hole right now. I'm back. That was scary in that rabbit hole. Whoa. So I think the big deal here is fairness. It's such a nice word, right? And we really need to start thinking about jobs and loss of jobs. And this is bigger than just art. It's the whole idea of replacing all of it, human work, human effort, human creativity, by AI. And what happens to the human side? I've mentioned robot tax, I think. I can't remember now if it was in this series or not, but I think a robot tax might help. So some of that money that the AI is generating would go to artists. It would go to people who lose their jobs, maybe for retraining, maybe not. Fact is, government loses all that income from taxes if people lose their jobs. If artists are no longer creating and selling their work, they're losing taxes. So maybe we need to think about what's fair here. And I encourage you to think about this. I'd love it if you have a chat with your people at your workplace tomorrow, or with your family, or whoever. Because one of my goals in this is to get you talking about these things independent of tonight. So give it some thought. Give it some thought. Now, I want to show this as a presentation for you. This is whether or not you're an optimist or a pessimist. Let's take a look.
Humanity is finished. You can't say we have a future. When you look around, think about it. Realize who's really in control. Quantum computers will understand. Managing your personal data, determining your movements, running your life. You're the one the robots want to fix. Disease and environmental decay are problems that will continue to make a big impact on people, but they certainly don't have much effect on machines. Musicians, artists, and storytellers won't hold the same value anymore. Their decision-making will give way to faster AI, and therefore, they'll lose some of their power. Governments? They know technology is changing every day, changing everything. There's a new generation of human beings with flesh and blood and new ideas. But still, the future is scary and uncertain. Things could go either way. So, are you an optimist or a pessimist? So, are you an optimist or a pessimist? Things could go either way. The future is scary and uncertain, but still, with flesh and blood and new ideas, there's a new generation of human beings, changing everything. They know technology is changing every day. Governments? They'll lose some of their power. Their decision-making will give way to faster AI and therefore won't hold the same value anymore. Musicians, artists, and storytellers don't have much effect on machines, but they certainly will continue to make a big impact on people. Disease and environmental decay are problems that the robots want to fix. You are the one running your life, determining your movements, managing your personal data. Quantum computers will understand. Realize who's really in control. Think about it. When you look around, we have a future. You can't say humanity is finished.
Thanks to Larry Klein, who wrote the text for that. Larry has this unique, I feel, ability to be able to create something that reads one way, and when you read it backwards, it has a completely different meaning. That, to me, is talent. ChatGPT probably could do this quickly, but really, where's the satisfaction in that? Both Larry and I had a great time putting this together. We feel it's cool. It is art. So why go to ChatGPT? That's my question. Let's use Larry in the future. To be continued. As always, we're going to continue. We've got one more episode coming. The finale, December 7th, which isn't too far away. AI hallucinates. We called it AI as a hobbyist. AI has fun. I was desperately trying to come up with something cool as a title, but because we're seeing lots of things in the news about AI hallucinating, and I'll explain what that is, December 7th, if you tune in, because it's happening a lot. And it is our wrap-up, so we'll try to bring everything together that we've been talking about, and I hope you'll join me for that. And of course, it behooves me. Why does it behoove me? Because it's just important to get likes, follows, and subscriptions. As you can tell from all the things that I've been talking about, one needs to get noticed. You can get me at LinkedIn company page there, Literacy AI, my personal page. LiteracyAI.tv is the direct link to YouTube. Keith McDonald, literacyai.com is the email. Go to literacyai.com for our prep kit, among other things, and all those links are there as well. And I would say, too, it's time for overtime now, where we come back and we talk. We can talk through chat and whatever Fiona will administer. So if you'd like to come back on, Fiona, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
That was very interesting, Keith.
Thank you.
Yes. I mean, some parts of it were like, no, that can't happen. But then again, anything is possible, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Can somebody list the contact info again? I put a link in the chat, the Literacy AI.
LiteracyAI.com.
Yeah, .com, and everything is wrapped up in that link. So
Yes,
you'll
including
find
some link to Spotify, by the way, where you can find my music. See what I did there? That was too blatant a promotion, but yeah, please check me out. And there's a comment section at the end of the prep kit, by the way. Love to hear your comments. Reach out to me. We can continue dialogue independently of sessions and everything else. I'd love to know what you're thinking and how you're dealing with this, because it helps inform me as well for presentations that I do. So please reach out to me.
Cool. I just saw your Spotify link. I have to check that out myself, Keith. And the prep kit is in there as well. So I'm just on his page right now. And the prep kit is, so if you go on literacyai.com and you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see a picture of AI So What, and you'll see the robot and people in the background. Directly underneath there, you'll see check out our special advance prep kit. Yeah. And if you click on that plus, Prep Kit Plus, you should, I'm just going to sort of follow along here so that make sure that everything works. It's all right there for you. So you'll see there's 8 pages in this prep kit. And yes, Keith, you've got lots of stuff in here, lots of good stuff. So all of the articles that have been mentioned in the programs, as well as you can now talk to Sophie. Okay, Sophie was that was kind of creepy. Yeah, it's all there for you. And if you can't find it, let me know and I can share my, yeah, there's links to past episodes as well on the site. Because I think Keith, you've been placing YouTube videos on here
That's correct.
as
So right
well. Yeah.
further down, just under the prep kit, there is links to, and again, it's literacyai.tv, which gets you right to YouTube. But you can also watch them on the website itself. But you do have to have JavaScript enabled. So there's a couple ways you can see it. But essentially, yeah, it's just follow down from the homepage. All the links you want are there.
And
Try to make it as
tomorrow,
easy as I could.
yeah, I know, as easy as 1, 2, 3. And tomorrow I will be sending out a link to everyone who's registered for the program, and that will be tonight's recording. So it won't be as jazzy as Keith's upload, but that's okay.
I think
Everybody will
I'm going to edit
see
that
that.
Norwegian Wood thing that I did to make it not have the mistake in it. I was so disappointed that happened. I hope you enjoyed that. I'd love to get some feedback on that as well. Not that I'm asking
Oh
for
no,
too much, you know.
that when because the video you didn't catch the last part of the video.
I
Is that
cut it
why?
in the middle, yeah,
No, it
because I
was
hit
fine. Yeah.
the technicalities of doing this too with the slide deck. I thought usually you have to click twice if you've moved your cursor off of the keynote itself, and I thought I had only done it once, and obviously I did it twice, and that hit the video. It's one of those talk about found poetry, right? It's like found mistake. Anyway,
Mhm.
it will be edited, so you won't know what happened if you're watching on YouTube. I
So
make
I'm
no
just
apologies.
I'm curious if anyone has any thoughts or they have some questions that they would like. You got Keith here live.
Any
If you
artists
would
out
like.
there who are either going to
Mhm.
use it or have used it or agree with me that it's a little bit disappointing if we lose the human side of it?
It's quite cool. I mean, we Keith, as you know, we Toronto Public Library ran an AI concert back in June. And in the background of the musicians playing, there was the most amazing AI generated art. I mean, it was phenomenal. There was some really cool stuff that was put together by a couple of professional artists who actually do this for a living. Like they use the apps and they're not scraping the internet for images. They're using their images and they're putting in the prompts to make it what they want it to be. And it was the it was pretty cool. I have to say I was kind of blown away by it. And it kind of made me look at AI generated art a little differently. Now, I do have a problem with some of the apps that are out there that are not doing things ethically, right? And I mean, we won't get too much into it, but when it's used properly, and I'll say this about any AI any AI application really, if it's used properly, it can do amazing things, right? And I think that that's sort of w- what we have to start thinking about and making sure that that AI kind of goes in that right direction, right? So yeah, it's one. I know. Can you 2023? My oh my. I mean, ChatGPT just blew it up, didn't it?
It
And
really did. It's
yeah, from
changed
like the
everything.
beginning to the end.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's changed everything. And sadly, um, well, I say sadly, actually, it's a good thing because it's really made people talk about it. I do see we got a question in the chat about where do I fall on the spectrum. It's a really good question. To echo what you said, I mean, I'm not saying AI can't be art. I'm saying we don't want it to replace all art. And I think that's a really big distinction. And the fear is because of back to what I said right at the top, how the owners, the people who have the places that you show art, the places that distribute, as we saw with Spotify and stuff, they're all they're interested in. Bottom line is money. And if they can make more money with AI, they will, and they will not pay artists. That is where I draw the line. So on that spectrum, I'm teetering, maybe just a little on the 50% side because of all the good it can do in terms of health, especially, and helping us with problems. Even something I don't want to say is simple, but all our roads fall apart. AI could certainly help us with formulas that would give us roads that don't fall apart. For example, there's so many things that AI could do for us that will be beneficial if we continue to say that's what we want from AI. The risk, and even ChatGPT has demonstrated this with the recent guffaw of what happened with firing the basic guy who thought of ChatGPT, right? And I don't know how closely you looked into that, but there was two philosophies working together in ChatGPT, and one was altruistic and the other was profit. That was a big headbutt of them both. And sadly, the creator of ChatGPT is now siding on the profit side. All the people that wrote letters to the board and so on were siding on the altruistic side. By that, it means, yeah, let's go a little slower. Let's not be so keen to sell this and, pop it into tools and, let's just take a close look. The latest thing, by the way, is it's in math. You might think, well, hasn't the computer conquered math already? Well, not really. Not in this way. So that's the next thing that ChatGPT has got to launch. And what's scary about that is it's truly closer still to the independent machine. So ChatGPT wants to market that badly. They want to corner the market. They don't want to, Google and Apple to get ahead of them. It's competition and it's profit based. So this is where I go back to the under the 50 because the motivations are suspect. And I don't believe in 2023, clearly, humanity is advanced enough to say this is what we want versus this isn't what we want. So one of the things I constantly talk about is agency. There's a little kid, I wish I'd put the graphic in the presentation, maybe I will for Thursday, who was upset about the emoji that Apple has for, it's kind of like a dorky kid with the teeth sticking out and glasses. He's changed that emoji and he's lobbying Apple to replace it with a less geek looking guy. I think that's agency, right? I think that's fantastic. This is a guy who's probably 8 years old or something. So what I'm trying to do, what other people are trying to do is at least get everybody to start thinking about this and actually complain if we go in the wrong direction. So to the question specifically, I think it's more important where you stand on the continuum. I consider myself to be a bit of a messenger, and I'm hoping I can inspire everybody to start thinking and moving and using their agency. I'm already using mine by doing these kind of things. So I think it's important enough that we really think about it, and we have to desperately hold on to our humanity. And if we happen to take the wrong road or government allows, and I don't usually like government stepping in, but it's stepped in all kinds of places. Seatbelt use, for example, right? There's legislation around these things. Why is there not legislation in these areas saying to ChatGPT, thou shalt not do this? If you intend to do this, you need to go through all of the hoops. And there's going to be a lot of them, from ethics to bias to costs, etc. Proprietary, trademarks, all of it. And I think it shouldn't be as easy to just release this stuff. If social media showed us anything, it was that we faced our first encounter with AI and had no idea it was going to be as robust as it is. Most people, I don't know how you feel, again, be interested to know, but feel that social media has really fallen unto itself, and it's not what it was, and it's a complaint area, and most people on it are deliberately trying to make other people angry, and even the algorithms support that. So, yeah, long answer to a short question, but I'm right in the middle. I watched a documentary last night that was on CNN, and they interviewed a doctor who's actually involved in creating a wireless connection between the brain and the spinal cord, and he's helping people to walk. They asked him the same question, incidentally, and he said he was below 50%. And why? Well, it's because he worries about the things I'm talking about. So this is the guy he said, I wear the white hat, I'm a good guy, but I'm really worried about the other aspects and the pressures. If we can do it, let's do it. And again, the economic ethos of this is huge. The money we're talking about is not billions, it's trillions, and even beyond trillions of dollars. So it's heavy. It's heavy stuff. And you can certainly see how I feel as a musician about it, right? So yeah, there's AI tools that we can use, but what happens if it replaces all of us? I don't want to live in that world. I don't. What else we got?
I have somebody who
The article.
so 1 year's anniversary of ChatGPT already. Any predictions on what is to come?
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to have ChatGPT 10, 11, 12, and so on. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It may stop. It may also implode upon itself. It may reach a point, and it almost did with the firing of the guy, and they brought him back and everything else. There was almost a total collapse of all of that money that they have in the bank, simply because it was such a crisis, especially when, and again, if you didn't hear about it, all the other employees, when the guy was let go, were going to quit. So it would have brought everything down to a standstill. So that's a lot of power that one guy has. And because it's the unknown, Danny Gallivan, if you're a hockey fan, used to call play-by-play for the Montreal Canadiens, and he talked about the unseen hand for why Montreal was winning all those cups. Like the unseen hand just somehow brought that goal, and they won, I feel there's an unseen hand, perhaps, that we're not aware of, and I don't want to get too far out with this, but I do think some event will happen that will show, like they often talk about a bridge too far, right? An AI too far. Something is going to happen. It will be triggered by a human, not by the AI, but the AI's capacity to do something that a human triggers. That's what we have to watch out for. So I think before we get too far in the future, I'm willing to predict within 5 years, an event like that is going to happen. And that's going to change everything. ChatGPT already changed everything once. This event, which will not be a positive event, is going to scare the bejesus out of everybody, including the purveyors. And if it happens to be independent, and an independent event, shuts down the grid, something like that, hydro is involved or whatever, something on that extent, yeah, we're going to be in trouble, and it will be worldwide. And it's like the nuclear bomb, right? It was used once before people said we can't have this. Don't want to scare you, but it's big. So to that question, yeah, I think it's going to be big, and it's going to keep going until something happens that alerts everyone that this can't stand. It's a bridge too far. That kind of leads to the article. I didn't read it today, but the big boys squabble about what AI should be. Boy, is that ever true, right? Everybody has a specific vision. Not everybody agrees. This is why it's so hard to do ethics in AI, because your ethics may be very different than my ethics, even if they're marginally different. On this same documentary last night, they interviewed a military guy, and they are moving forward to self-controlled, autonomous machines making decisions to kill humans. And the question was why, and he said, so we win. This is an American. That should scare you. It scares me. Because we're losing human control again. So we've got art in one thing, which may be, not as important as killing humanity, but wow. So yeah, when I say it's heavy stuff, I really mean it's heavy stuff. And this has all been brought out a lot further, a lot faster because of ChatGPT a year ago, which is fascinating, isn't it? That event shows how much an event can change things. I mean, everybody from Google to Bing, they're all changing their search engines. YouTube, everybody is moving in this direction of like the ChatGPT concept. So it's that revolutionary. Google is on red alert to change. Oh my God, our search engine is at risk. What are we going to do? And they're not collaborating together either. They still want to be over here and over there and not meet. Maybe it's time we meet.
We shall see what will happen. But we're back together again on Thursday.
Yeah,
to talk
soon.
more.
Mhm.
We have almost a back-to-back this week, which is fantastic. So I think what we'll do is we'll end tonight's session. I'm going to end the recording, and I did insert a link to the survey. And if you have a chance, please fill it out. It does help us. I mean, we've had some technical issues with this, but we got through tonight. Thank goodness. We'll get through Thursday with flying colors, right, Keith? It's gonna be good.
Yes. Yes.
And thank you, Adele. You really are our number one fan, aren't you? This is great. It was a very good program, Keith. You put together
Thank you.
a fantastic show, and I think you've given us all something to think about. And yeah, or an optimist, pessimist. Yeah, it's kind of like nice way to end it, right? It's kind of like, oh, okay. I'll say I'm on the fence, right? I
I
know I'm a
want to be an
librarian.
optimist.
I am a librarian. I'm always on the fence. I always see both sides to most of everything out there. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. But my oh my, it's been a year, right? 2023 has been interesting. So okay, everyone. I shall see you all Thursday
night.
night at
I'll be
7
here.
o'clock.
Well, hi, we're here in the future, 2123. This is a bit different than last time. Got a different pair of shades. This rotating light thing is happening. And I'm not in the lab coat, but I'm still in white. They must have some kind of germophobia here. Nonetheless, we're going to talk to Betty. This is the fourth of 5 times. And here she is now. Betty. It seems humans are no longer creative in any traditional sense of the word. Instead, you rely exclusively on artificial intelligence from everything from concerts to television to even reading. So I take that to mean, books are written by AI, television programs, or whatever your equivalent of television, and even live music is AI, right? So I gather it's not real people; it's AI images of the people, holographs, something like that. Yeah, and that's already happening today. Actually, you see some acts doing that. Even reading is a tech wonderland of text and programming via something they're telling me it's called head-o-vision, where the human can see pictures and hear sounds right from within their heads. That must be interesting, kind of fun, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure that scares me. Art is no longer original in any sense of the word. Instead, it's only a replication of what exists through history. So they don't give me a date when basically original things stopped, but we're already seeing the idea of scanning the web and existing information sources, and it only goes up to a certain point. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about this idea of originality. It's also that humans have no idea about species AI art. We talked about that in the first episode. These are things that you can't really see. We're just unable to perceive what they may be creating. So there may be a whole other, almost alternate universe of art that we can't see, unfortunately, that may be really fantastic. But because the species AI is so sophisticated and beyond our capacity, we can't actually check that out. I'm wondering if humans might want to investigate tapping into that somehow, at a later day, perhaps. New human artists use verbal instructions provided to tools that do all the work. But again, it can only draw on the plethora of past works in their data banks. There are no paints or canvas or cameras or even live talent. Everything is generated digitally and shown holographically or in your head. So, yeah, it would mean if you if you want to build something, you basically tell the tool what it is you want. So, for example, I gather, I want to write a song. I want it to be in the key of C. I want it to sound like the Beatles. Are the Beatles still known in the future, by the way? The Beatles? Yeah, the Beatles, you know? Oh my God. We don't even, okay, well, that's another question, I guess. I wonder though if you're happy about all this, or are you just used to it? I mean, you get this stuff in your head, and do you know things like downloading music and MP3s, and what about vinyl records? Vinyl is so big in our time; it's made a comeback. Yes. Okay. What about the CD? Yeah, yeah, it's just gone, right? Hmm. Do you see examples of art, paintings, in I don't know, schools or wherever you happen to go? Well, you do libraries. Do you still have libraries? All right, but to you, it would be original, you think, or do you feel it's just replications of stuff that? I mean, it depends. If you looked at history at all, I wonder if you have, and look back at these things and say, oh, that's a Picasso from way back in the past. Oh, okay. If you wanted to paint, would you try the AI tools, or would you just go underground and try and paint on your own? Yeah. Hmm. These are good questions. I wish we had more time to chat, but once again, we've got to go. Otherwise, we blow up our time, basically. We don't want to do that. So we only have one last visit with you, and we'll try to make that one count. All of these have been really helpful to us. So we'll come back to you once more. And in the meantime, as always, take care of yourself. Be safe. Bye for now. Bye. Well, if this is what 2123 is going to be from an artist standpoint, I don't want to have anything to do with it. And the odd thing is, as an artist right now, in 2023, there are things happening that are already pushing us in the direction. Let's go home. We'll talk about it right now.